Good morning, neighbor. Thank you for joining me today. I'm Alicia Dolan. This is Crafting in My Corner, and this morning it's November. I'm not sure. Let's say the 15th would be Monday, Tuesday. I think it's the 17th. I have a really cute card to share with you. I have my coffee. And I'm just waiting for a few friends to join us. I know it takes a few minutes for the lives to pop up in our feed, and I'm just waiting for a few moments. I hope you're having a wonderful morning. It's a little chilly out, but not too bad. It's supposed to be a little bit rainy today. I'm going to turn the camera view around and point you down at the card so that you can see what we're doing. At the end of the video, I'll tell you about the current specials, and I'm not totally prepared this morning, so I don't have my host code ready. But if you need that, then I will post it in the description after the video posts. So let me turn the camera around and we'll get started with this morning's card. This month I am focusing on the Peaceful Cabin suite, and so this is the card for today. Let's see if I can get the camera a little bit closer. And hopefully everyone who doesn't want to miss Coffee and a Card has already tuned in. I'm going to turn my overhead lights on so that we can all see better. Okay, and I noticed when I watched my last video that I couldn't hear myself as well. I don't always watch myself and hear myself. So if you can hear me, would you let me know if I am too quiet, or if you can hear me all right when I'm giving you the instructions. So this is the card that I am working on this morning, and it features the Peaceful Cabin stamp set. It does also have dies that cut out the cabin and this little fence and some trees and some other images, but I didn't use that this morning. I actually used these rectangle stitched framelits dies to make this square here. So let's get started. We are going to need some early Espresso cardstock, some Mossy Meadow cardstock, and instead of using the basic white today, I used the shimmer white. There is a slight difference, and I can show you that. Let's see, I don't know if you can see the actual shimmer of it, but you can probably tell that the shimmer white is slightly off-white as opposed to a stark white of the basic white. And because I was using a darker tone, like kind of woodsy tones, I wanted something that wasn't quite such a sharp contrast. Let's get started and make our card. So we're going to start with an early espresso base, and this measures 5.5 by 8.5, and we are going to use our Stampin' Up! Trimmer to score it at 4 1/4. Now, if you don't have a Stampin' Up! Trimmer, you can always use a bone folder, and if you don't have one of those, you can just fold your card in half. But it does make a little bit of a nicer crease if you have a scoring tool of some sort. So there is our fold, and our card today is going to go this direction. So next we have our Mossy Meadow cardstock, and it looks like I didn't cut that one. I had to change the blade on my trimmer this week because it wasn't cutting quite as even anymore. So I'm just going to trim those little flyaways off with my snips. Good morning, Kathy. All right, and I'm just grabbing a little scrap piece from over here to put underneath for when I need to do my inking. Okay, so now I have a piece of, this is the shimmery white, and it measures, I did not actually measure it this morning. I will put all the measurements in the YouTube video descriptions once I get it there. So it's 3 3/4 by 1 3/8. No, 2 3/8. 2 3/8 by 3 3/4. And then we're gonna take this rectangle stitched framelit, and we are going to cut a triangle out of this rectangle. It's still too early. Maybe I haven't had enough coffee this morning. Or I'm not quite awake enough. I don't know. Okay, so here is this is a big shot, but you can get the Stampin' Cut and Emboss machine now from Stampin' Up. And it's a little bit easier to handle than what the Big Shot is. So I need the multi-purpose platform and one plate. Then I'm going to put down my early espresso cardstock, my rectangle stitched framelit, and then I'm going to cover it up with a second plate. Do you feel like the camera is a little too close this morning to what I'm working on? Let me know. I'm trying to watch at the same time through the camera as I show you what I'm doing. And so it has to be a little bit closer because I'm not very tall. All right, and so then we're just going to carefully remove that. And then we will remove our piece. And I like to push from the inside, but really close to the edges, because sometimes the stitching gets stuck on there. And I don't want to tear my paper. Okay, so now we have our rectangle stitched frame. We've got our pieces over here, and we are ready to start. Oh, you know what? We need one more. We need one more early espresso piece, and it looks like I've put it somewhere else. All right, so I need to grab a little more early espresso, and I will be right back. Oh, thank you, Kathy. I can never tell if the camera view is good or if it's too close. I had to move it around a lot this morning because there were shadows. I've been moving my everything around in my corner, trying to make more space and get rid of some things. But in the process of cleaning, I've actually lost some things, and so I'm going to have to put them to rights. But I'm not sure exactly where the right place for everything is yet. Okay, so we have this little piece of shimmery white is going to be for our sentiment, and it measures, let's see, 3/4 inch by 2 inches. So then our piece of early espresso is going to be 1 inch by 2 1/4. When I'm making a frame to go around a sentiment, I usually go 1/4 of an inch each way larger than my original piece. So 1 inch by 2 1/4. And I probably got a little carried away with my original card because, as you noticed, it has 3 bows. I had seen a card in a magazine that was similar to this, but I don't know for sure if I like that many bows. I think I might just put 1 on our card this morning. But if you like the 3 bows, you can definitely do that. So let me grab my Stamparatus from where I set it off here to the side. And here I can put that one up in the corner maybe so we can see the original while I'm working on the next one. All right. So here are the pieces we're going to stamp. I'm just going to set this one right here and put the magnet down on it. Now, if you don't have a Stamparatus, you can always stamp with an acrylic block. And the stamps that we're using today are rubber cling stamps. And so you don't need anything special to stamp with them. Just you can use an acrylic block or the Stamparatus. So what I'm going to do is attach my plate to the Stamparatus right here on the left. Stamparatus comes with 2 plates, so a lot of the time if I'm working on a bigger project, I'll leave the stamps on the plate and just detach and reattach them as I need to. So I'm going to line up my little cabin. I want it to be right here. Then I can close the plate, and under the edge of the plate, I'm going to put the case for the stamp set, just to hold it a little bit more level while I stamp. So I'm going to take my Early Espresso ink pad, open that up, and I'm going to ink up my stamp. Now, when you ink up your stamp, you want to tap gently, but tap a lot of times. You don't want to push hard because then your ink will blob up, and nobody likes blobby ink. So we're just going to tap it all over that stamp until it looks like it's covered. Looks like it needs a little more there in the middle. All right, and then we can close the plate and press gently in the center of the stamp. And I found it works best for me if I don't stamp too close to the edges. So I try to stamp a little farther out. I feel like I get a nicer, more even image. Oh, let me stamp just a little more. And this cabin set is actually, it's not meant to be a really sharp image. It's kind of, I don't know, maybe like antiqued, or I'm not sure exactly what the right word is. Vintage. There, let's say it like that. It's more vintage. And now I'm going to clean off my stamp real quick with my chamois, which is really wet this morning because I cleaned it off yesterday, and then I don't think I wrung it out quite enough before putting it back in the case. But I didn't want it to dry out either before I got back to stamping. Okay, so there is our cabin. And I'm just going to put that stamp right back away. And I can get out my Wishing You the Best stamp, which is right up here. And this one, I'm going to stamp with my acrylic block. So I'm just going to set my piece down here, and I can line it up with the grid paper. And then I can line up my stamp. I always turn my stamp over because sometimes when I put that sticker on, it doesn't match up exactly with my words, and I want my words to be straight when I stamp them on. So I'm using acrylic block H today, and I can line that up with the grid paper as well. And I guess I should have left my ink open, but I'm so used to closing it right away so that I don't make a mess. All right, and then I'm going to ink that up just by tapping. And you can tap the block on the ink or tap the ink on the block. It doesn't matter which way, whatever works the best for you. So now I'm going to line up my stamp. Oops. And it stuck to that a little bit. There we go. And then I can stamp off a little bit. That just helps keep my chamois a little bit clean for longer. Oops, I keep closing that and I need to leave it open. I'm losing track of what I'm doing this morning, I think. Just a little bit, not completely, but a little bit. All right, so now my stamp is cleaned off. I can put that away. And I try really hard to put everything away as I use it so that it doesn't get lost. Things do still sometimes get lost, but I'm trying hard not to lose any more than I have to. All right, so now what we're going to do is I have right here a blending brush, and this is a really soft little brush that Stampin' Up sells. So what I'm going to do is take my ink. I need to move this card before it gets smushed up. And I'm just going to tap it on the edge of that ink. And I'm going to swirl it around starting off the card. And then I'm just going to swirl it along the edges. And what that's doing is adding a little bit of color along the outer edge of the card. And it'll just kind of add a little something to that, to the vintage feel of the card. So we're going to blend all around the edge. And I don't want to add too much at once because there's no going back. Once you add a little bit, there's no going back. We can start over, but we can't go back. Okay, so there is the first piece, and see how that just adds a little bit of shadow around the edges. We're going to do the same thing with our sentiment. So I'm just going to hold it here and go around. Now, if you don't have the blending brush, you can use a sponge dauber or an older piece of sponge. But I really like the little bit of extra this adds to the piece, to each piece, I guess. Now, if you notice, our Mossy Meadow piece also has some blending, and I think that I used green for that one. So I'm going to try to smudge off as much as I can of the brown from our blending brush. And I'm going to get out my Mossy Meadow ink. And actually, I used a sponge dauber for my Mossy Meadow ink, so I'm going to continue on with that and do it the same way, just so you can see the difference between the two. Okay, so these are sponge daubers, and they come in sets of 10. And we're just going to tap it in our ink, and we're going to kind of do the same thing around our card here. And we just want to go around the places where we know are going to be a little more, they're going to show a little more. So more along the bottom and along the side where we're not going to have the sentiment or the image to cover up. Now the sponge daubers can work the same way. You can swirl them around, or you can just tap them. They'll actually last a bit longer if you just tap than they will if you swirl them. The brushes, you don't have to worry about falling apart. They're good quality and they'll last a long time, but sponges are a little more, they're a little more delicate, I guess. And they could fall apart quite a bit more than the brushes would. All right, I'm gonna do a little bit more here and around this side. And it just gives our paper a little bit of depth. Kind of makes it look like designer series paper instead of just cardstock. So now we can go ahead and start putting our card together. This is actually a really quick card. Okay, I'm going to move my Stamparatus to the side. And here is the base of our card. Here's our green, our stitched rectangle, and here are our stamped images. So what I'm going to do is turn over my sentiment first, and I'm going to use liquid glue to adhere it together to the frame. Now when you're using the liquid glue, you don't want to use a lot. You want to use just a little bit, and you don't want to press the tip into your paper because it will almost score your paper, and then you'll notice the lines. Now we're going to turn our stamped image over, and we're going to do the same thing. We do a little glue around the edges, and then a squiggle down the middle. And we're going to attach that to the rectangle frame that we die cut. We're going to press that down. All right, and next we are going to take our early espresso suede, false suede trim, and we are going to cut a piece that is just longer than our Mossy Meadow layer. we're gonna grab our mini glue dots. And I am gonna put one on each end of my ribbon. Now you can use more glue dots if you feel like you need to. I just press my ribbon on the dot and then peel it off. So I'm gonna lay that along the right hand side because that's where I want my ribbon to be. I don't want to go too close to the edge because I want room for the bows, but I don't want to go too close to where I'm going to put my stamped cabin either. So I think right about here looks good. And then I have to scoot it just a little bit because it looks crooked to me. I probably won't notice once I get the bows on there, but okay. Now we're going to turn that over, add our liquid glue to the back. And we're going to put a squiggle in the middle. Oh, my glue's running out. Okay, we'll turn it over. Place it in the center front of the card. Just like this. Okay, and now we can add our image. We'll turn it over and put some Stampin' Dimensionals on the back. And you could also add some extra gems to this card or other embellishments. I thought it looked nice with just the ribbons. Okay, and then let's tie our bow next. So when I tie a bow, I turn my card upside down, slide my ribbon through from right to left. I cross the left over the right and I move my spool of ribbon over to the left side. This may sound like a lot of instructions just to tie a bow, but I found that it works for me and I have a hard time tying bows. So we're gonna pull that tight and we're gonna pull up a loop on the left side. And I go around behind and then push the other end through. And then I pull, but not too tight. I like to leave it a little bit loose so that I can tighten it up without it twisting back. And it looks like this time my bow is going to go sideways. So, didn't know you were on. No, I just, good morning, Kim. I just woke up and thought, it's been a while since I've done a video and I need to get back in the swing of things. So that's where I am this morning. Kind of a surprise video. I hope you're having a good morning. Okay, so I don't know why my bow is sideways today, but as you can see, my other bows went the other way. So I'm not going to retie it. I'm just going to leave it the way it is. Sometimes things work out a certain way because that's how they're meant to be, right? So I'm not going to go back and try to fix it. I'm fighting that feeling, but I'm not going to do it anyway. All right, so I'm going to turn my sentiment over. I'm going to add my Stampin' Dimensionals. And I'm actually going to do a second layer of Stampin' Dimensionals this time. And I'm going to put that right here, just over the ribbon and the edge. So there is my card for this morning. So as you can see on my first card, I did do 3 bows. And at the beginning of the video, if you were listening, or if you remember, I said that I was only going to do 1 bow because I thought that maybe 3 bows were too much. Well, it worked out, right? Because this time my bow turned sideways for some reason, and it's not going the right direction. So before I go, I wanted to mention to you that Stampin' Up! Is having a big sale right now, and it was yesterday through the 18th. So until tomorrow, there is a big sale on paper, and I think paper is 10% off. Not all paper, but cardstock is 10% off. Stamps are 15% off, and dies that go in your Stampin' Cut and Emboss machine, or the old Big Shot if you have it, those are, I think they said 20% off. I'll put the details in the description if you are interested in that. Plus, if you join Stampin' Up! Right now, you can join for $75, and you can choose $125 in products. So every person who joins my team will get a welcome gift from me. And if you need the details about signing up, you don't ever have to sell anything if you don't want to. When you join Stampin' Up! As a demonstrator, you get a discount, and you get to be on a team with someone who's been a demonstrator for a little bit longer, and they can share with you some of their tips and tricks or hints. And feel free to call or message your demonstrator. If that's me, you can call me anytime and ask questions about stamps or sales or what's going on. You don't have to sell anything. You don't actually ever have to buy anything again if you don't want to. You can let your demonstratorship go at any time, but this is a really great time to join because you get $125 for $75. Plus you get a discount and you get to be on my team. So those are all really cool things. I thank you for joining me this morning. I'm trying to read all your comments while I'm talking. Thank you for joining me this morning for Coffee and a Card. I will be back soon with another video, and I will try to post ahead of time when the live video will be. I just had a window this morning where the kids were off at school and the house is quiet and the dog is taking a nap, and so I have all this quiet time, and it inspired me to be a little creative. I hope that you get some inspiration today to be creative, and that whatever project you're working on, you have just a wonderful time. I love to craft, and I hope that you do too. Have a great day.